It's July 2021. What is keeping VP R&Ds up at night?
There's probably two ways to answer this. One is on the personal front, as many of you may know, July 2021, and Sydney is now in lockdown. So I'm dialing in from Sydney, so that's keeping me up at night. Learning how to teach my 10-year-old how to behave and learn. But anyways, but on the work front, really what we're thinking about is, especially in organizations like Atlassian, how do we continue to scale and how do we continue to adapt to the changing world? We have built collaboration software for 20 years now, and the world changed overnight. The world changed the way we collaborated and talked to each other overnight. And it's, how does the pace of innovation keep up with the pace of change in the real world? So scary and fun.
Yeah, well, I can definitely share some of your 10-year-old homework with what I do here in the evenings now. But yeah, so you're managing now a global team, and very, very much a global team at different time zones with different cultures. What does that look like in Atlassian, and why have you built it this way? And maybe sort of how do you think about the future when you want to continue this growth?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Before we kind of dive into the story of Atlassian, I know, Jira, we probably have a range of individuals that are on the call. Yes, I manage hundreds. I manage an organization of 500, 800 plus engineers. But the reality is the systems and the processes that we're going to talk about, they're exactly the same for an organization of 10, 20, 30, 100 people to 1,000 people. And that's the beauty of some of those things that we're going to talk about is how do you scale using systems and processes and mechanisms, right? So at Atlassian, we're a strong believer of this model. And the model is strategy, structure, roles, people. And really what that means is whenever we think about our teams, we think about the way we're organized, we don't necessarily just start at the structure, we start at the strategy. And the structure that we follow in the organization follows the strategy. Otherwise, some of the anti-patterns for folks on the call, if you are saying things like, oh, hey, are we shipping our org structure? Are we shipping this product the way that it's shipped is because these individuals sit in this org structure? Well, that's actually a really big problem. And we don't want our customers to see the seams within our organization. What we want our customers to see is the value that we want to deliver to them, and that's to be able to collaborate, between teams. So at Atlassian, our structure follows the strategy. So the set of strategies that I own is Agile, DevOps, and IT solutions. And what we want to do, and the way we have structured these organizations is, what are the key strategic areas that require focus? And Agile as a methodology requires deep focus. DevOps is a strategic area for us that requires focus. And the third area is IT solutions, which is more of an emerging area for us. So we have actually ended up splitting our organization kind of in that way. So hopefully that starts to show you how Atlassian as an organization has started to think about our structure following the strategy that allows us to be competitive in the market.
That's very interesting. I mean, if we just double click on that for a moment, what does that mean that the teams actually look like? Are these separate DevOps, QA, like just variety of teams working together? Or are these teams where in each location you've got a blend of different skill sets that are supposed to solve problems with each other?
Yeah, I wish there was a clean answer. I really wish I could say, hey, this is the model that we follow, and everybody else in the world, everybody listening in on this call should follow exactly this model. Here's the principle that I'll start with. The tools that we use have to be right for the job. And here's really what I mean by that. Atlassian has been around for 20 years. I've been at organizations. AWS is another example where I spent about 6.5 years. And the reality is, the way that we structure the teams have to align to what we're trying to achieve. So for some of the teams that are actually leveraging some of the more modern toolkits, they're running microservices, they're running on the latest stack, they are using CI/CD to deploy code multiple times a day. For those teams, we're actually leveraging, we have embedded DevOps practices directly in the team, because those teams actually have the tools to be able to diagnose issues in production, set up their own dashboards. They have the capabilities to roll back their deployments. They have all of the tooling. So for the teams that are running modern stacks, we've kind of embedded the DevOps practices within those teams. But for some of the teams that are running really, I would say not really old code bases, but that are running more of the monolith type architecture, where it's a really big code base, and it's the tooling and the capabilities within the product aren't necessarily at the level where it's where you can do self-management. We've actually separated out the dev team from the operational team. Because the challenge there is it's impossible for one dev team to cover a massive surface area. So what we want to avoid, Jira, and this is really what I'm trying to highlight, is not to apply a blanket rule or a blanket pattern across all of our teams. What's really important is to understand, what do we want to optimize for? What's the ground truth? And apply patterns that make sense for those problems.